The next one is a popular author that you can't seem to get into, and we'll start with Andrew.
Yeah, well, it follows suit with a previous answer, J.K. Rowling. Because I've tried. I just exactly. I've tried and I can't seem to get into it.
Ari?
Again, I mentioned this in the Ruler of Books tag. I have a lot of trouble with Dan Brown. I don't care for his books very much. I think that his stuff is a very strange combination of religious and political and crime. And it's like National Treasure, or a lot of it's like a treasure hunt kind of stuff. And I'm just never into that kind of book anyway, where they're going around looking for clues and stuff. It just, I feel that a lot of his writing is hard to grasp.
Yeah, there are some people that just aren't going to get into that kind of writing. Mine is Kurt Vonnegut, which it seems like a lot of people within my age group are really much into him and his work, but I read Timequake. I thought it was terrible. I know Larry was nice enough to let me borrow Slaughterhouse-Five, and I need to make my way through it. But I think that while I hold out hope for him, it seems like his writing is very memoir-esque without the memoir. It's just about himself and what he's thinking. And it's very... I think different is good, but it just doesn't seem like Vonnegut and I are on the same traction when it comes to expectations.
Well, the thing about Vonnegut, I think, is that he plays around a lot with the nature of reality. And he takes it from more of a... I think he's more of a predeterminalist. And when I was younger, and until very recently, I myself was that way. But I'm kind of coming out of that now. I think that free will is real, and that we can make choices that affect the world and make a difference. But that kind of helplessness and that Vonnegut likes to express can lead you to nihilism, not necessarily be a good thing. That said, it's a perspective, and it's important to keep all perspectives, because he certainly has reasons for feeling the way he does. It's most especially to help him cope with the horrors that he's seen during the war and everything.
Keep in mind that Timequake is not the only thing that's the only thing I read completely. I started reading Slaughterhouse-Five, so it's not like I'm judging my decision based solely on Timequake, and that's for you, Jay Henneke, if you're watching. But
and I've read quite a bit of them, and I'm comfortable saying that what I'm saying is one of his central themes. It's kind of a recurring point that existence is futile, and it's kind of depressing and stuff like that too. So
I'll get back to him now.
I'm not saying that any of that's positive.
Okay.
Richard Wright did Native Son, correct?
I think so.
Yeah, I didn't care for Native Son very much.
Okay.
So
Yeah, I should add too that I haven't completely dismissed J.K. Rowling. It's just not my time. So
I think a lot of that comes into play.
I think the Harry Potter book came out in like 95 or 96.
Yeah, I wasn't in it when it was hot, and I kind of just decided to forget about it, I think, and I'm still in that mode.
And then the first movie came out in 2001, I think.
Sounds about right.
Yeah.
Directed by
The movie
Chris
came out in
Columbus.
2001. And Larry, who do you find is a popular author you can't get into?
Aldous Huxley, I guess. I've tried to read Brave New World many times, and I just haven't been able to get through the first chapter.
It was for me. It was a challenge to grasp as well. I would say that much.
I have trouble getting into some, like I said earlier, I have trouble getting into some opposed stuff. Not because I don't like Poe, because his poetry is nice, but his actual works like Usher and Mask of Red Death are just very difficult for me to read.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe just because they make me uncomfortable, I don't know.
Yeah. That's what horror is known to do.
Yeah,
Next
wrong
one
question.
is
7.
a popular book trope that you're tired of seeing. Lost Princess, Corrupt Ruler, Love Triangles, etc. Ari?
Me? Okay. If there's one thing I don't like, unless it's related to the plot or it leads into the plot, if the first chapter of a book has a death in it, it turns me off immediately. A book should always start with exposition of the character. That's my belief.
Mm-hmm.
Unless it is absolutely vital to know that something else happened. Like, there are some movies where, like, the father dies in the beginning of the movie and the son's journey is to find out why the father died.
Mm-hmm.
That's different. But if you just have a needless death at the beginning in chapter 1 and there's no other exposition, it pisses me off.
Yeah.
Because there's really no need for needless death. The first thing you see in the book is this is the beginning of the book. They fall over, they die, and everyone's depressed, and it's just, you want to start a book with exposition.
I'm definitely in agreement with you on
Yeah.
that. It was very much similar
here.
to The Force Awakens, where it looked like Poe got killed in that spaceship accident, but he pops up in the middle of the movie. So it's
That was different because Finn was there. If Finn was not there, I would have agreed with you.
Mm-hmm.
But since Finn was there, we needed to establish Jakku. We needed to establish that all needed to happen. But I'm trying to think of an example of one where it's not like if you see like a random character. Okay, this is just an example. A random character is running away from a wolf. The wolf eats him, and then the second chapter is talking about a little boy and his fear of wolves.
Oh.
That is what I don't like. When the first thing had nothing to do with the second thing.
Mm-hmm. I would definitely say that makes sense. So, for me, something that I can't stand is anything that is predictable. So, which it's a very broad answer, but I don't like. I'll take 1 Second After by William Forstchen as an example, and I'm going to mention some spoilers.
Turn away now if you don't want to hear him.
I felt that it was so predictable that it was not enjoyable. I know that his intent was to talk about the dangers of electromagnetic pulse, but I feel that I knew that there was going to be a death. I knew that the teenager was going to get pregnant. I knew that things were going to happen as they were taking place, and I don't like. I like to be thrown off. I think that when the writer is able to throw off the reader, they're doing their job. There are some occasions where you can succeed at the guessing game. For instance, Murder of Roger Ackroyd. But
or Murder on the Orient Express was another one. Or Murder on the Orient Express actually is the only Agatha Christie to ever fool me completely.
Okay. Granted, sometimes you don't have to be fooled. Sometimes you can succeed at the guessing game. But if it's too easy, then that's where I have a problem. Where it's almost when you almost know that it's going to happen, and any reader.
And it doesn't just apply to mysteries. Again, I'm going to a few questions ago I mentioned, or actually this was in a previous video. I mentioned Fear of the Dark Witch, Trevor Baxendale, which is a Doctor Who book, and every single time a chapter started, something happened that you couldn't have even thought was going to happen because there's a lot of things going on, but it all surrounded one term, and that was the darkness that was coming after them. So anything could have happened with the darkness, but it was still unpredictable. So having a predictable book where you know when everything's going to happen, it's easier to have predictability in romance novels and novels that have tropes rather than science fiction or fantasy, which usually is more imaginative and gives you more room to work with.
Ready then. I think Larry's next.
I'm going to say the plot twist is my thing.
You don't like plot twists?
No, I don't like plot twists.
So you don't like Twilight Zone, I'm guessing.
Well, I mean, like, it's got its place, right? Like, I mean, if you're doing an anthology series with a half an hour every week to tell a story, then that's one thing. If you're writing a novel or a movie or some long form narrative, and halfway through, all of a sudden, you're just going to flip everything on its head just because it's exciting to the audience, I think that's cheap.
So if it was for the plot of a book, though, would you still say the same answer? Like if the left turn is vital to the success of the continuation of the novel.
If it's like an arc, what do they call it? Arcdemic Kina.
Whatever it is, yeah. But if it's not like a random left turn, if it's like a plot driving left turn, would you still think that the plot twist would be inferior?
Hard to say.
I think it just depends on how it's written, to be honest.
But here's what I don't like.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like when there is when the primary thing that is driving the story is the plot as opposed to the characters. And I think that's when the plot twist becomes more and more prevalent, because the author's aware that the characters aren't interesting and they're only there to serve the story anyway. So how do you keep people interested? And the only way you can do that is to make the plot.
I agree with you about
That's
that.
That's what you said about Phantom Tollbooth with the secondary characters. You said that they didn't really have a place because the driving force was the left turns that came from Milo, not from anybody else. But I don't agree with that. But I get your point.
And I think a consequence of it is like how afraid everybody is now of spoilers. Like, oh my god, like just the idea that you can talk about one part of a story and have it ruin the experience. It's nonsense. I mean, if you're writing something for the sake of exploring characters, and just like Hemingway once said, what he used to do when he wrote is he'd take people that he'd know and put them in a situation that they wouldn't normally find themselves in.
The Call to Arms is a good example of that.
And I think that's a good way to go about it, because anything that you know or talk about within the story on its own is not going to ruin anything. It's not going to ruin the experience, because you still want to see how the characters arrived to that point. What drove them there.
I agree.
I think that spoiler whole thing really kind of democratizes.
It makes discussion kind of hard.
Yeah. I mean, I'm like the rare type that I don't mind being spoiled, because I'm going to be invested in the story, and that's where I'm going to be living for a little while.
Yeah.
So people have spoiled stories for me like many times, but you see through it when you're in the story. So So
what would your answer be about a trope that you don't like?
I am tired of seeing the dead coming to life. I think like The Walking Dead right now is it's fine, it's alive and good, and people enjoy. I just think after this point, it's spent. I mean, they go slow, they go fast. They're semi-intelligent, fully intelligent.
Zombies.
Their base instincts. They're just natural repetitions. I don't see any more joy in that.
The whole rise of zombies back into popular focus, it started about 10, 12 years ago.
I remember when Shaun of the Dead came out.
Yeah, right around then when Shaun of the Dead came out.
Around then. Yeah.
And when Day of the Dead got remade and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So
I mean, that was the beginning of it. Then obviously the comics that show is based on now, The Walking Dead and all that. I don't really watch.
And keep in mind that
but it's like, how long could something stay?
Shaun of the Dead was not supposed to be I mean, yes, there were zombies in it, but it was supposed to be a parody.
Right.
It's supposed to be funny.
Yeah.
And then when people they like something in a particular world, they want more.
Yeah, so they're like, ooh, this isn't humor, this is killing zombies.
You think all the stories have been told?
Well, that's my opinion. I feel that way.
Yeah. Usually it's some sort of virus or something.
See, when I was younger, the George Romero films, and it was like exciting and new, and there was just only a couple, and then there was a few Italian. I'm going away from literature, but there's a few times where the zombies were fast, and that was new and exciting. But now I think they've done everything that they can. It's like with Jim Matheson, it's like they had hang-ups in drives that
seemed like the zombies were very much hybrids of vampires.
Wasn't that the movie with Will Smith?
Yeah.
It was a movie with Will Smith. It was based off of
was a
Richard
lot
Matheson's
different.
novel. But otherwise, I guess we'll go to the next question, and that is a popular series that you have no interest in reading. For me, it's Twilight. Just very poorly from.
This could be
It's
unanimous.
it just seems.
It's not. I have a different one.
Okay.
It just seems like something that is poorly
Not
put
that
together,
I don't like Twilight.
and
I don't like Twilight.
it just everything about it bothers me. Larry?
Hunger Games. Seems boring.
Okay. The first one was good. I think that if they extended it, that would have been good enough for me. And Catching Fire and Mockingjay, I just wasn't fond of. It gradually got worse, the whole series.
Mm-hmm.
Andrew?
Babysitter's Club.
Oh,
No, I don't. I feel like I'd be echoing too many answers. I feel. I might pass on it because I feel like I've hated on too much in this video.
No more than us.
That's why it's
But,
called. That's the nature of
I
the video.
could. I could just be lame and keep with Twilight. I don't have any interest in going back.
The world
Yeah,
is ripe with stuff to hate, Andrew.
Yeah.
Embrace the dark side.
And the hate is gonna hate.
I guess.
Shake,
I guess Star Wars. Star Wars is like a series. There's.
Mhm.
I don't have,
there are some books from Star Wars.
I've read.
Yeah, but they're not canon anymore.
No,
let's
unfortunately.
see, popular series. Yeah, Babysitter's Club.
All right.
I don't like Christopher Paoli's book. I can't speak to
The Aragon books?
Aragon, Eldest Prince-Singer. Just keep me away from that, please.
Mm.
Far away. Too long. Too many things going on, and dragons and fantasy. It's like a cheap version of Lord of the Rings. Well, I haven't read it, but I'm saying it's probably like a cheap version of Lord of the Rings,
Okay.
which I barely like. I mean, I do like it, but barely.
And the last question in this tag is, the saying goes, the book is always better than the movie. But what movie or TV show adaptation do you prefer more than the book? Larry?
That's a tough one. I'm going to cheat again. I'm going to say Jaws. Even though I haven't read the book, it's probably unfair. But I've heard that the movie's better, and I love the movie. I think it's a classic. I think it's an awesome
Show
Man
me
versus
the
fish.
way to go home.
Yeah, that whole scene in the gully of the boat with the discussion of the SS Indianapolis and everything was Robert Shaw actually wrote himself.
Yeah, that's probably the best scene in the movie.
Yeah. And that came about through the collaborative process of filmmaking. And, obviously the original author of the movie had was not able to put that kind of emotion or direct language into the telling of that tale. So, it's just moments like that. Spielberg's debut movie made him more money than God and everything else. So I'm gonna say Jaws.
Okay.
That's a good answer. Because I read the book, and yeah, that's a great answer. So I wish I had said that. I'm going to say The Shining. Although it's different.
They're very much different.
No, yeah, and there's. You know what?
Here's Johnny.
The book and the film are like the great companion pieces because there's things in the book that you appreciate the movie more. Like you knew what was popping with that faraway shot with the guy in the bear suit. You kind of knew what that was about because of the book. I could also say Hellraiser because the Hellbound. That I think was a better visual experience, although the book explained it more fully. I think Hellraiser was a better movie than the book, yeah, I'm going to go with Hellraiser.
Right.
Well, there are a lot of books that were made into movies that I really enjoyed. There was Coraline by Neil Gaiman. There was Stuart Little There was a few others. The first few Harry Potter movies weren't bad. But if I had to pick one movie that was originally a book that I love more than anything, it's Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. I don't think
That's
there's
a good answer.
any question. The 1970
Early 70s.
It was in the 70s, yeah.
Yeah.
I think it was 71.
Okay. Yeah, I think it was.
That feels right.
Yeah, I think the book was good, but the movie was a lot better, even though it was a marketing thing, to be honest.
And it's fun. Roald Dahl hated.
I know Roald Dahl did not like the movie, but you want to know something? Roald Dahl is in this panel right now. I think that Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, the movie, is better than the book. I'm just leaving it at that.
My choice is Julie and Julia by Julie Powell because what made the movie so good is that Meryl Streep as Julia Child was extraordinary, and I liked learning about Julia Child and how she went to. It covered her going to culinary school during the Second World War and her adventures from back then. In the book, it concentrates on the memoir part with Julie Powell, and Julie Powell was just very whiny and clumsy. I was not interested in Julie Powell's story at all. There were little letters from Julia Child, but it was, I think that the Julia Child part in the film and Meryl Streep's performance is what made it so good. And that's why I prefer the movie.
I like Meryl Streep a lot. She's not my favorite actress, but I like her.
Okay.
My favorite actress is Helen Mirren.
Guess it all depends.
Judi Dench isn't bad either.
Alrighty. That was our take on the Unpopular Opinions book tag. I'm going to tag...
Let's hope it's not as unpopular as our opinions.
Oh, right. Let's hope not. And I'm going to be tagging Jessica and Alana from Reading Ramblers, Julia from Julia's Cemetery of Forgotten Books, Sage from Ekatide, and Erin from Reading Squid.
Reading Squid.
Yep, that's the name of the channel, Reading Squid.
Reading Squid.
Thank you for tuning in to our take of the Unpopular Opinions.
Are you
book tag.
squidding me?
It's the end of the video.
No, I don't want it to be the end of the video.
And for now and as always, we encourage you to keep reading.
Keep reading.
Keep reading.